This is episode 19. Here is episode 99 of the Mr. Men book readings. Walter the Worm. Walter was a worm who lived in a hole. Not a damp, muddy sort of hole, but a warm, cosy sort of hole. A warm, cosy hole at the bottom of Mr. Happy's garden. Walter was very happy living in this hole, except when the grass was being mown, and when the sprinkler was turned on, and when everyone was playing football in the garden. But on the whole, he was happy in his hole. He had no desire to go anywhere else. He had no desire to travel the world. Now, one morning, not that long ago, Walter's alarm went off, early. Walter rolled out of bed, he brushed his teeth, and had breakfast. Yes, worms do have breakfast. The sun was just rising as Walter poked his nose, yes, worms do have noses, out of his hole to see what he could see. It was a beautiful sunny day, so Walter decided to go for an early morning walk, or rather, an early morning wriggle. Walter was not the only person who had set their alarm early. The early bird had also got up very early. She had got up early because she was hungry, and she had been taught from a very young age that the early bird gets the worm. The early bird's beady eye had spotted Walter as he left his hole, and Walter had spotted the early bird's shadow crossing the lawn as she swooped down from her nest. "Oh, help!" cried Walter. With an agility that you would never have suspected, Walter dived for his hole. He wriggled as fast as he could wriggle. He wriggled down his hole until a quarter of him was safe. He wriggled until half of him was safe. He wriggled until 3/4 of him was safe. But Walter was rather a long worm. But just as the last little bit of his tail, yes, worms do have tails, was about to reach safety, the early bird caught it. As Walter felt himself being pulled from his hole, he grabbed hold of the end of his bed. The early bird pulled and pulled and pulled. And Walter was stretched until with a loud snap, like an elastic band, Walter was catapulted out of his hole. "Oh, help!" cried Walter for the second time that morning as the early bird carried him high into the sky. "Please don't eat me," pleaded Walter. The early bird looked down at Walter as a large tear rolled down from his cheek. Yes, worms do cry. There's always sunshine. And suddenly, the early bird felt rather sorry for Walter. In fact, she felt so sorry that she'd lost her appetite. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll take you home." As she tilted in the sky, they flew over a beach. "What's that?" asked Walter. "That's a beach," replied the early bird. "What's a beach?" asked Walter. The early bird was astonished that Walter had never seen a beach, but it was a very long way to the beach, or at least a very long wriggle for a very small worm, so the early bird flew down and landed on the sand. Walter had a lovely day at the seaside. He and the early bird made a sandcastle, and they ate ice cream. There's Mr. Strong in the sea. And they went for a swim in the sea. Yes, worms do swim. And as the sun was setting, the early bird took Walter home. Walter made himself supper, and then he went to bed smiling as he thought about how lucky he had been to meet such a friendly early bird. But before he turned out his light, he was about to set his alarm clock when he had a sudden thought. And he did not set his alarm. He did not set his alarm because he realized that the late worm avoids the early bird. Nice saying, innit? Just one more to go. Hope you're excited. And it's going to be very special. You wait and see.